Today we're going to take a look at some unlikely duos. Yeah. Like peanut butter with mayonnaise, bacon on a cheeseburger. Some combinations just sound really off-putting until you're like 9 beers deep and hungry as shit at 3 o'clock in the morning. Such is the case with some of these unlikely music collaborations, minus the drunken antics. Whether it's a dream collab come true for some artist to finally work with their favorite influences, a meeting of just happenstance, or just a new, fun, creative avenue for musicians to make musical chemistry with new artists, which has all happened over the decades. Sometimes groundbreaking and new, sometimes heartbreaking. Either way, creative. And today, we're going to take a look at those artists. First up, this is one of the newest ones on here. We're going to take a look and talk about Blink-182 collaborating with Oliver Tree. Actually, the other way around. In July of 2020, Oliver Tree dropped his debut album, Ugly is Beautiful, which immediately started dropping bombs all over the Billboard charts. A few weeks later, the artist got together with pop-punk legends Blink-182 and reworked his track Let Me Down from the before-mentioned record, which he said was a dream come true and that Blink-182 were his heroes, saying in a Twitter post. The song features Mark Hoppus playing bass and dropping some vocals throughout the track, with Matt Skiba and Travis Barker on guitar and drums respectively, bringing a whole new flavor to the kind of hip-hop track and making it more awesome. It somehow works with Oliver Tree not being a shy guy to collabs, having already had the likes of like Marshmello and recently Trippie Redd with the Island Boys on his new music. Next up, we have to talk about Lou Reed and Metallica. Yeah, they put a whole album out together. This one just doesn't make sense. Having dropped back out in 2011, the album entitled Lulu, which was a collaboration album split right down the middle with Lou Reed and the guys from Metallica, which had a combo of Metallica's metal backing and chops with Lou Reed's spoken word lyrics. The album had a ton of mixed reviews, with sources not really understanding the concept behind the record, and trust me, from listening to it, it's a weird one. The Velvet Underground singer, Lou Reed, and Metallica dropped the single from the track entitled The View later in the same year of 2011, and Metallica re-releasing it to their official social channels in 2020 as a tribute following the 2013 death of Lou Reed, who sadly passed away due to liver disease. Next up is NoFX and Avenged Sevenfold. This has to be by far one of the newest ones on here next to the Oliver Tree track, but this one dropped in 2020. The kind of punk rock that NoFX puts out just doesn't sit right with the, dare I say, heavy metal outfit that is Avenged Sevenfold, though Avenged Sevenfold has been cited to list NoFX as a huge influence on their career. Even there's a video somewhere on YouTube of them playing an impromptu version of Linoleum, which was a very poorly taped video from a Vans Warped Tour, I think, on an iPhone. Fast forward to NoFX's 14th studio album entitled Single Album, and the first released single from that album entitled Linoleum, not to be confused with their other song Linoleum, which in Fat Mike, from NoFX's words himself, was dedicated to the hundreds of bands who've played the classic Linoleum song wrong over the years. Not only does Avenged Sevenfold provide dueling guitar solos and drums and backing on the record, but also provide kind of a hilarious music video, which also features members of August Burn Red, Frank Turner, and the late great Tony Sly. Next up, we've got Public Enemy and Anthrax, which is considered one of the original inventors of the hip-hop meets metal movement genre, whatever you want to call it. The collaboration between metal band Anthrax and hip-hop outfit Public Enemy was truly something new during the time in the early 90s, even though Run DMC and Aerosmith did it a few years earlier. But this one was simply different. Originally released in 1988 on Public Enemy's It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us, and was re-recorded by Anthrax in 1991, which featured original sample vocals from Public Enemy's recordings. The overall reception of the track wasn't even originally taken seriously, even by Public Enemy, who eventually came around and made it their closing track on their 1991 album Apocalypse 91, The Enemy Strikes Back. Over the years, though, the song has ranked as one of the greatest metal songs of all time among critics, as well as been featured on a slew of WWE wrestling games, movies, and the Tony Hawk Pro Skater series. Up next, we've got Fall Out Boy and Demi Lovoto. Fall Out Boy has definitely had some pretty crazy collabs over the years, dropping tracks with everyone from Lil Peep and Timbaland to having artists like Elton John, John Mayer, and Lil Wayne all on their records. One of the craziest collabs, works for some reason, is Fall Out Boy's 2015 single Irresistible from their American Beauty / American Psycho album that featured Demi Lovato. In a nutshell, Demi Lovato has already shown diversity in the ability to jump through genre-bounding hoops, being featured on tracks with the likes of pop-punk aficionados All Time Low, country legend Brad Paisley, and even singer Christina Aguilera. Demi and the boys from Fall Out Boy performed the song in a music video even that seemingly poked fun at NSYNC's music video Bye Bye Bye, where the band became action figures and were controlled as puppets by strings. The video even featured members of NSYNC minus Justin Timberlake in it. Check it out. It's amazing. Next up, we've got Post Malone and Ozzy Osbourne. This is another new one, fairly new. In late 2019, Post Malone dropped his album Hollywood Bleeding, which featured Travis Scott and none other than the Prince of fucking Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne, on the track Take What You Want. If you already knew Post Malone's metalcore roots, this really wouldn't come as much of a shock to you. But if you're a brand new Post Malone fan or just an outsider listening to Top 40 Hits, this one would come to kind of a shock to you and be kind of off-putting. The track features Ozzy Osbourne singing throughout all of the choruses, which reminds me honestly of much of the stuff from his already discography, until of course the verses kick in, and then you've got Posty and ska dropping bars on top of trap beats. There's an official music video for the song, as well as a live performance that was released a few months after the album came out at a Post Malone concert. Next up, we've got Billy Joe Armstrong and Norah Jones. What happens when you mix jazz, pop, singer-songwriter with a legendary punk rocker? Well, you get the folk record, apparently. And in 2013, Billy Joe Armstrong of Green Day and singer-songwriter Norah Jones released Foreverly via Reprise Records, Green Day's home label. The album is a collection of traditional Americana songs from the 20s through the 1950s. The album doesn't really try to reinvent the wheel or innovate or do anything crazy. It's just tracks that pay homage to singers and songwriters before them. It's definitely something, though, that you want to listen to, given the fact that you got the guy who wrote songs from American Idiot and Dookie, and it's already something up Norah Jones's alley, but it's really something you wouldn't expect Billy Joe to cut. It's straight down the middle. There's a full record with both of them on it. If you want to catch something different, something kind of new, and honestly a little off-putting, listen to this record. Next up, we've got Snakes on a Plane. Yep, I'm talking about that one. Before we had the Avengers, and after We Are the World, we had this pop-punk collective, which is basically like the pop-punk version of We Are the World, in my opinion. At the time, every single one of the bands that I'm about to mention were blowing the hell up in the early 2000s during the pop-punk revitalization. The song Snakes on a Plane, which was called that after, originally titled Bring It, dropped in 2006 and corresponded with the release of the Sam Jackson movie Snakes on a Plane. The track featured Cobra Starship's Gabe, as well as William Beckett from The Academy Is, Travie McCoy of Gym Class Heroes, and Maya Iverson of The Sounds. All these bands were explosive at the time, a lot of them under the Pete Wentz umbrella. The track in the video, which was directed by Lex Hollaby, I think I'm saying that right, and features all of the before mentioned singers, as well as brief cameos from Fall Out Boy member Pete Wentz and fucking Sam Jackson himself. Given some of these artists' musical past and their diversities, it was kind of crazy at the time. It doesn't seem so crazy anymore, but given it then, it was definitely amazing, and it's still something that you probably want to listen to. Did you know that Taylor Swift was on a pop punk song? Fucking yeah, she was. Before Alex Melton was covering Taylor Swift songs, Boys Like Girls and Taylor Swift collabed in a song called Two Is Better Than One by Boys Like Girls on their 2009 album Love Drunk. She was barely into her career. Boys Like Girls already had some successful hits with The Great Escape, and I think Love Drunk was already out at that time. So the track was immediately a smash and was all over mainstream radio, and they had a video made of it on MTV, which didn't feature Taylor Swift for some reason. These days it might not seem too crazy that T Swift is on a pop punk banger, which I'd still love to see her on a pop punk song with like Blink-182 or All Time Low or something. But at the time, she was like dropping pop country hits. It wasn't exactly her pop rock outfit that she was doing. So the crossover at the time didn't seem or feel quite right, but it worked perfectly. Since then, Boys Like Girls have kind of went on an indefinite hiatus, with the lead singer Martin Johnson still being a prominent member of the music business, having written a ton of smash banger hits for everyone from Avril Lavigne and Ariana Grande to Papa Roach, Flo Rida, and Daughtry. Last but not least, we've got JayZ and Linkin Park. Dropped way back in 2004, multi-platinum rapper JayZ, and then up-and-coming artists Linkin Park released the Collision Course EP. An entire album of reimagined mashups of JayZ and Linkin Park tracks. Originally meant to be like one or two songs, the project ended up expanding into 6 tracks and turned into an EP. A documentary and a live concert was also filmed and made on about this. Its initial reaction blew up between the metal and the hip-hop and the new metal community, with the first single, Numb/Encore, receiving significant charting and airplay for the first 6 months of its release, and I believe Paper Cut, and I don't know what was attached to Paper Cut, being the second single from that album. It definitely kicked the doorway down for all of the interspecies genre mingling, while also not being a joke or poking fun at the new metal genre that was still around at the dawn of the new millennium. New metal at the time was kind of a joke, with bands like Limp Bizkit, Kid Rock, kind of blowing up the airwaves and then fizzling out. Linkin Park have always stayed true all up until Chester Bennington's sad passing. But this has always been one of my favorite collaborations of all time. And there's a full documentary on YouTube that you can look up. And I do believe under JayZ and Linkin Park's Spotify discography, you can listen to the full Collision Course EP. So that's my list. I know I missed a ton of them on here. Leave your favorite wacky collabs in the comments below, and maybe I'll do a part 2 of this one in the future. For now, we're going to roll the outro, and I'm going to edit this, and I'll see you later. Hey guys, we're at that part of the video where you should like and subscribe. And after the video is over, comment on some stuff. What did you like? What did you not like? What should I do next? Something like that. There's more to this channel than just the whole YouTube thing. I post daily blogs on thepoppunkdad.com, which features daily reviews and interviews from awesome bands from around the globe. Head on over to the Pop Punk Dad merch shop, where you can find cool things like that right there. It helps the channel out, and it lets me know that you love me. I have a weekly podcast called the Pop Punk Dadcast, which is on Spotify, SoundCloud, and iTunes. Please subscribe. And hey, while you're at it, after this video, cruise on around and check out other content that tickles your fancy. Interviews with awesome bands, vlogs, cover songs, and more. You can check out all my socials, my IG, my FB, my Snapchat, and my Twitter at the Pop Punk Dad. And above all else, guys, stay pop punk. Later.